welcome back to another video. This time we're going to be taking a look at the Dead Space Isaac Clarke doll. And yes, I do say doll because it's made from fabrics and clay pieces as opposed to like action figures would be like, articulated, plastic joints and everything. But yeah, I mean, this is basically a Isaac Clarke, the engineer suit from Dead Space 1. And the reason why I'm going with this is because the new Dead Space remake at the point of this recording is coming out in a couple days, and so I'm really excited for it. I'm a huge fan of Dead Space, the original trilogy, so I really want to do something in kind of celebration of it. And I'm doing the engineer level 3, I believe, suit, and that's because that was the suit that was used in basically all of promotional material, so there's most references I can kind of go back to. And so yeah, it was really cool. It took a while to make this, like a whole month, but yeah, I even gave him a plasma cutter, and the plasma cutter is able to rotate, which I'm very excited about. And as you saw, the helmet is also removable. That's kind of why it's really big on him. I was kind of hoping it wasn't so big, but that's kind of how it kind of came out. But yeah, no, I'm really happy with this. I think it's really cool. And like I said, I'm just excited for Dead Space to kind of be out in the pop, and just be popular again. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of get in the hype. But let's go ahead and get right to the video. And to start off, I wanted to show you just some concepts I made. So, I was originally trying to make this a 6-inch figure. He kind of came closer to like 6.5 or 7. But the reason why I made these drawings is because, as you see, I'm cutting them out. And that's so that I could have like little pieces that I could kind of, like, how do you say, templates? They're basically templates so that I could put on the fabric, draw over it, and then just cut them out. That way I could have pieces that I could start sewing. But yeah, and like I said, you can just see me cutting them out. There's the like little templates that I made. And yeah, so then we go right to the cutting, like to the fabric piece. And once I cut them all out, I did a lot of sewing. I did a lot of the sewing off screen because A, it would have been tedious, and B, I'm still fairly kind of noobish to sewing, so I didn't really want to show anything that I couldn't really show off. I mean, I really had a lot of this close to my face to see where the needle was and everything. But you can kind of see, I mean, this is, I tried to show a little bit. And I just tried to get obviously the thread and like knots big enough so that when I, went through, they didn't just, the thread didn't just like slip through the holes from the needle. But yeah, so, and here we get to sewing. I'm just doing like basics, bare bones sewing threads, and so I'm not doing anything specific. Although later on I do what I think they're called ladder stitches. You can see how that's really done online, but I do ladder stitches, aka invisible stitches, so that you don't see them on some of the art doll. And then right here I'm just making the armature. And yeah, I was really just trying to be careful so that I could get all the proportions and everything right, so nothing came out too wonky, and I think it came out pretty all right. And then after this, you'll seeing here, I do make kind of these feet, these clay feet, and the reason why I do that is because I actually make the boots, and I use clay to make the boots. And essentially I make the boots, the gloves, and the face, and all of those I made separately so that I could make molds out of them. You'll see later I make molds, and that way I could cast them into rubber so that they could be more flexible. But yeah, and here you're gonna see the face, or at least the process of the face. And I used the clay that I haven't used in a while. It's just this like more stiff Sculpey's clay that worked really well. It was flexible enough that I could get like as much detail as I could, but still stiff enough that it didn't like just completely warp as soon as I touched it. It was a good clay for making the face. And so yeah, and I mean, I've always had an issue. I've always had an issue making faces. I'm not very good at it. In fact, I'm sure once my friends, if I showed any of my friends the face I made, they'd probably say how weird it looks. In fact, I did show a buddy of mine the final face, and he said it looked like a Gorilla Man, which, I mean, I kind of had to stare at it for a while. I don't really get where he got that from. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not the best at faces, but I was really trying, I think this is probably one of my better attempts at a face. And that's just because I kept looking at the in-game model for references and just trying really hard to stick close to the details. I think I had the most issue with like the top head. Like I think it kind of was a little too, I don't know, it just didn't. It looked like he didn't really have a forehead, so I kept trying to bulk it up, and then at one point the hair got too bulky, and so I had to cut that down. And yeah, it's kind of like I said, I'm not the best with human faces, but I do think this was one of my better attempts. And you can just kind of see me trying to get all the like face details in and everything like that. But yeah, this is definitely gonna be a long section, so I think I'm gonna let this roll out, and I'll come back to you later. And real quick, I just want to say that here's the me making kind of the rubber pieces, casting them. And the molds that I make are actually one piece cut molds. I got the idea from YouTuber Robert Talone. He keeps talking about how one piece cut molds are the best and everything like that. So I decided to try it, and they came out pretty good. But yeah, and here they are all on the art doll. And I kind of decided to do a pre-paint just to kind of help me get an idea what the final paint's gonna look like, and also just so that like I can cover maybe some pieces that won't be covered, or that's going to be covered by the fabric or whatever. That way it doesn't if it moves, there's not any of the base rubber that's just showing by accident or like that. So basically just covering pieces that will hopefully be covered, but in case they're not, like they don't just come off as blank or whatever. I hope that made sense. But going on with the face, I basically just did a base like skin coat, and then I did some brown washes just to kind of give it like that dirty look, and then I did a dry brush of a different skin tone, like a khaki, just to bring out the skin tones again. And here comes sort of building the whole kind of undersuit together. And I used a fabric tack, which is fabric glue, to hold it onto the rubber pieces. And then I just stitched the rest, and as you can see, I'm putting stuffing in there to give it some bulk, so that's not just a flat 2D figure. And here comes the rest of the stitching. So I'll come right back after this is done. Here comes the clay pieces, and this was a little tricky. Originally I wanted to make all the armor pieces out of resin, and then I didn't have enough mold making material, like enough silicone to make them. So then I was just gonna make the helmet, or at least the visor and the rig out of resin, and then I ended up using the rest of my mold making material for the hands and the head and the feet. So then I had nothing, so I basically made everything out of everything's from the clay. And the reason I wanted to do the resin is because I want to have give it that sort of, I don't know, that clear sort of look for the visor and for the rig. I thought that would have been cool. But regardless, I mean, I still think it came out pretty alright. And it was kind of difficult because obviously the clay does not want to stick to the fabric. So I had to work very meticulous and very just kind of carefully, just so that I could get all the clay onto the fabric into the right position. And then basically I just let it dry. And after a while, I kind of got a little impatient. I just said, okay, screw it. I'm just going to fabric tack it even when it's still, wet. And then when it cured, it was basically formed onto the suit. And here you see me making the plasma cutter. Now, I started off really tiny, and then I just made it a little bigger. But here you can see this is the kind of rotator cuff. And I started off with like a little pin, then that, and then I came out with these extra pieces, these, and then I came out with like the little fan blades. And I basically just built it up so that way, everything was like, kind of could work, and it didn't like fall apart. And yeah, here's me kind of making the rig, and I put the little stasis module, and then yeah, I mean, this is just I did like the little the little tube for the life, for the health. And yeah, I mean, it all came, like, I think it all came out pretty good. You know, I was trying to make it look as realistic as possible. Obviously, you know, with it being handmade, that's not gonna be easy, but I still think it came out pretty alright. And here's me making the boots. I wanted them to make out of clay so that they could be a little more stiff, you know, so that he could stand easier. When putting together the plasma cutter, I put a lot of Vaseline over the joint, and then I put a thing of clay over that, and basically so that it could move and rotate without fusing together. And I think it came out pretty well, but this was actually my second attempt, and then it broke. So then I'm making a third one, which you see at the beginning and end of the video, and that's the final version. But yeah, and I decided to make a second one because the proportions were just kind of off. And here I am making the helmet. And again, I think the reason why the helmet looks so big is not so much the helmet itself. I think it's more so the visor just came out a little too big, and so it kind of makes it look bigger than it really is. Regardless, I am a little upset that the helmet is gigantic. You know, it does look a little goofy on him, but in a lot of the photos, I think it still comes off pretty cool. So I'm not too upset about it anymore, but it was kind of a little upsetting to see how goofy, like it almost looked like the Big Daddy helmet. But going off the painting, I mixed the orange, bronze, and brown together, and that's how I got the armor pieces. And I used silver for like the individual and for the dry brushing and everything. And here you can see the rig color. I did like a blue with a turquoise, same with the visor. And then I did like a white with, I mixed white into it so that I could do like the more bright, like center side of it. And for the hair, I decided to do a black base and then just dry brush a whole bunch of grays and whites in there because I believe in the game he's like 50 years old or close to it, so I wanted to give him that older man look. He definitely comes off a little bit too old, but again, I think it's okay. And then he has the blue eyes. And here comes, again, I'm using Fabri-Tac and I'm just gluing all the clay pieces onto it so that it can be more sturdy. And yeah, that's about it. Everything came out pretty good. Again, there's some things that I think I wish I could have done better. I wish I could have done more resin pieces, especially because the plasma cutter, it's very scary trying to rotate it. I wish it was made out of resin, so I felt a little more comfortable. But regardless, I'm very happy with how it came out. You can see there's a close-up of the face. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm very happy with how it came out. I think it came out pretty good. And again, I'm just so excited for the remake. I'm so glad Dead Space, is making a comeback, and I hope it's here to stay. But yeah, so, if you have any suggestions or any comments or any ways I could have improved, definitely let me know. I would love to hear it. But yeah, if you want to check out this guy, you can check him out on my Instagram page, Giovanni Arts and Collectibles. I post pictures of all my collections, my sculptures, everything on there. So if you want to check that out, definitely go. And I appreciate y'all for watching the video, and have a great day.